Hello, welcome to this week's episode of How's the Market, Pensacola. We had a little scare this past weekend, didn't we? They kept saying a tropical storm was going to hit us, and don't think it did. About the only scare that I have seen around here really lately is the fair started. I don't know if you've got out there. My wife and I were talking about going out Friday to go see one of the old school bands. I don't think they're called Jefferson Starship anymore. I think they're just called Starship. But they're supposed to be here Friday, and we built this city on rock and roll. I don't know. I'm looking at the weather, and it looks like it might be nasty that night. So if that's the case, we're just going to have to build a different city on rock and roll a different night. But hey, we're not here to talk about the fair. We're not here to talk about Jefferson Starship or part of my childhood. We're here to talk about real estate. Let's go. My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and don't need no permission. I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth? All right, so I start to show off every week the same way, just talking about a good baseline. If we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, that's considered a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say is anything greater than 9 months is considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months is considered a hyper seller's market. For those who have not seen the show yet, this is your first time, this is why I start off with those slides. We are sitting here in Santa Rosa County here. Over on the left-hand side is the list price. That's what people are asking. Over on the right is, based on that $50,000 increment, how much inventory we have. So that's why I use that baseline to begin with. You look at Santa Rosa County, we are still, again, this was interesting. It's actually gotten worse. And I say worse, I mean there is an inventory crunch now. Because if you remember last week, under 500,000 was definitely a hyper sellers, but I want to say up here was in the 3-month mark. It's now 2.3. There is nothing under 500,000 that's not under 3 months inventory. So what does that mean? That means for you, if you've got something that you're trying to liquidate under $500,000, it is definitely a hyper seller's market. You can push the envelope a little bit on your value. All right. We can look forward because people, a lot of times, and I want to get this out there. I want this to understand. There's a lot of people, and even some realtors, especially when they first come out of school, they look at valuing a property based on what the last sold was. Okay. So we go in the neighborhood. It's called a comparative market analysis, CMA. Okay. This is one of the first things we learn when we first come out of real estate school. You learn how to do a CMA. This is how you value a property. You look at the past 2 or 3 solds. This is what an appraiser does as well. Okay? But you look at the last 2 or 3 solds. So let's go in your neighborhood and let's say the last 3 solds happened August, April, and February. All right? That was this year. So you're okay as far as using it. I like to try and stay with 6 months right now. I say 6 months. I mean, when I look up the sales, I try and stay within 6 months, but I want to get the neighborhood and I want to get it close to your area and close to your square foot. But here's the thing when I say you can push the value a little bit. When I say that as a seller, I mean, hey, we look at the sold, and let's say the sold price was $252,000, but that was in February. We then need to count from February forward what the average appreciation is. So now I need to push that up a little. A lot of people will stop and a lot of agents will stop and go, okay, you valued it $252 because that was the last sold. But they're not giving you the forward-looking appreciation. That's like driving down the road, nothing but staring at the rearview mirror. You're just looking backwards now. You got to get the forward appreciation. And then on our list, I push it even further. All right. Now I'm not going to go crazy. If the 252 was the sold in February and 254 was the sold in August, we're not going to list it at 290. Okay. There's nothing that says we won't list it at 267. Because I'm going to give you the forward appreciation for this year because we have been seeing some appreciation again this year. And I'm also going to push it just a little further because of this, because of what I'm looking at right here. Because I know between 2 and 250, there's 2.2 months worth of inventory. There's 167 houses. If you're looking at this, there's 167 properties active right now, but there's such an appetite for it in Santa Rosa County. And this is the same in Escambia, but for our analogy here, this is going to be pushed a little. I may go to 267, 269. And I'm not having trouble with appraisers getting it. Okay. Now, again, you can't go crazy with it. Don't go 280. Now, what does that mean if you're buying? If you're looking to buy right now? Well, that means that you need to understand this is here. And when you go to do offers, like the 150 to 199, look at this. they're selling between 99% and 100% of list. So don't go in there if somebody's asking 165,000 and offer them 130. Okay? If they've been on the market 6 months, that's a different ballgame. So there's always exceptions to these rules, but mostly everything's selling for 99 to 100% value. Okay? So just pay attention to that. So sorry about the little rant, but I wanted to get that clarity out there because I've been running up with some clients that have asked me to come look at their property and say, hey, what's the value? And they said, I've talked to a couple of realtors, but I saw your show. I wanted you to come out and take a look. And I've been seeing the CMAs left, and the value they're coming up with is just the value of the last solds. And that's costing sellers money. It actually is leaving thousands of dollars on the table that you could be getting for a seller, as a seller. And that's still true value for a buyer in today's market. So let's get back to it. Anything under $500,000 in Santa Rosa County is considered a hyper seller's market. Looks like 500 to 550, pretty much on the cusp of a neutral, but is still a seller's market. 550 to 600, pretty much on the cusp of a neutral, but is a buyer's market. So if you notice, they're 98, 97% of list price. So you get a little bit more. All right. 600 to 650, around the cusp of a neutral, but a seller's market. So it's bouncing all over the place. And then 650 and above, considered a buyer's market. A little bit more of the cusp. 700 plus, 6.9 months. So you're right at a neutral market. There's just not much inventory there. There's 48 properties in Santa Rosa County active total right now in that price point. Let's see what Escambia County looks like. Escambia County is just like last week. Everything under 300,000 is considered a hyper seller's market. That same analogy I was talking about. If you looked at Santa Rosa County, it was 2.2 if I remember correctly. Hang on. We'll pull it up. Yep, 2.2. And in Escambia County, it's 2.3. So same thing. It's still a hyper seller's market right there for that price point. So anything under 300 in Escambia County is a hyper seller's. But anything under 500 is still considered a seller's. Anything under 450 is considered a seller's market. 450 to 500 has now dropped from a buyer's market to a neutral market. This one was where that pocket was. If you remember a couple of weeks back, we had a seller's market, almost a hyper seller's market at 450 to 500. And then from 4 to 450 was almost a hyper seller's market. And then from 450 to 500 was almost a hyper buyer's market. It was a weird pocket. That's come back down some. 450 to 500 is now considered a neutral market. So you're not going to be able to push the value too much, and both sides are going to need to be willing to negotiate. This is a different marketing strategy if you're a seller, and it's a different buying strategy if you're a buyer. That's why I put these numbers out, because the strategies change with these colors. Hopefully that makes sense. It just changes. Our buying strategy is going to change. Our selling strategy is going to change. 5 to 550 is a hyper buyer's market. Not hyper. It's a buyer's market, okay? Because it's not greater than 9. It's 550 to 600 is a hyper buyers, but it's funny, 6 to 650, we're back down to a neutral. It's a little odd, but I think that's the same in Santa Rosa County. Isn't 6 to 650 a neutral? 6 to 650 is, pretty much a neutral. It's slightly on the seller side. So that 6 to 650 mark, there's just not much property. There's only 15 active. 650 to 700, a buyer's market, and then 700 plus, you've got 100 properties active and only 12 under contract. So that's giving you almost a year worth of inventory. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of numbers. You understand what's going on this week. Get out to the Maritime Park this weekend. It's going to be fun. There's Barktoberfest. I think all the doggies are going out there. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that, although we might take the dogs this weekend because it's like Halloween for the fur babies. Hey, if you're thinking about doing anything in real estate over the next 12 months, reach out. Leave me a comment. All right. I'm going to start giving away some tickets to our client event too. So pay attention to the next couple of weeks' videos because I'm going to be giving away some tickets to our client appreciation night. For those of you who don't know, our clients, I've rented an entire theater for Star Wars. The opening night of Star Wars, we will be the first ones in Pensacola to see it because we have no previews. So I'm going to be giving away some tickets to that event. Stay tuned on that. If you're interested in it, give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment on this week's video. And they might put you in a drawing. I may do it this week. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Have a great, great week. I'm a man on a mission. My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and don't need no permission. I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?